Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Graceful, a Pace of Grace podcast where we explore the abundant grace of God in every aspect of our lives. I'm your host, Christy Chella, and today's episode is all about starting the year with intentionality by giving God our first. As we step into a new year, let's delve into the transformative power of prayer, fasting, giving, and serving. So find a comfy spot and let's dive into giving God your first. Now, before we get started with today's episode, this is a very special episode because not only is it the very first episode of Graceful, it's also my birthday. So I intentionally wanted to launch the podcast today just to mark the beginning of a new season in my life, even as I turn a year older, 35. And so it's super, super special because I've been wanting to do this for the longest time, and yet I just didn't have the confidence. I just didn't have everything put together. And you never really do have it 100%, right? And so I thought to myself, it's now or never. It's either I do this year or I'm never going to do it. And so by God's grace, I gained the courage that I needed to get started with the podcast. And here we are. So you can consider this a birthday gift, not just to myself, but to you guys as well. On this special birthday, I am launching the Graceful podcast. So without further ado, let's jump into today's topic. January, as we know it, is not only the beginning of the year, it's also the beginning of a season of consecration for Christians and believers worldwide. There are churches and ministries worldwide that undertake corporate times of prayer and fasting, right? And individuals will also tell you that they're seeking God in prayer in the first month of the year. Now, one might wonder why. Why seek God at the beginning of the year? Why seek God through prayer as the year begins? Well, first and foremost, this is simply because prayer is our direct line of communication with God, our Creator. So whether it's a few moments of gratitude or you're seeking guidance for the year ahead, making prayer a priority sets the tone for a grace-filled journey. In the book of Psalms, chapter 63 and verse 1, scripture says, a psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah. O God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you in a dry and thirsty land where there's no water. Now, I've read this scripture a lot of times along my Christian, journey. I have read it so many times, but when I was preparing for this episode, something stood out that I never really noticed until now. It's this line that says, when he was in the wilderness of Judah. Now, wilderness, as we know, means, a dry place, right? It's a barren place. It's a place where there's literally nothing pleasant to look at. It's a wilderness experience, as we like to call it. And then the word that follows, Judah, means praise. So not only was David in the wilderness, a place where it was barren, a place that was dry, a place that was empty, but he was also in a posture or a place of praise at the same time. And so this inspired me to know that in spite of the location where David was, he was still able to give God the best of his praise early in the morning. He was still able to give God the best of his worship early, as it goes on to say, early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you. In this place of dryness, in this place where I am thirsty, my soul still rejoices in seeking you early. Now, that was so amazing when I read it. This emphasizes, the importance of seeking God early, the importance of putting God first at the beginning of every journey. Because when we give God the first moments of our day, the first moments of our season, the first moments of our year, it aligns our hearts with his purpose. It brings peace and direction. And so giving God the first of our year through prayer is cardinal if we are to arrive at our desired destination, just like David inspired us in the scripture that I just read. So we've talked about praying, and now we're going to shift things a little bit and add fasting to the mix. Fasting isn't just about abstaining from food. It's a spiritual discipline that opens our hearts and our minds to God's voice. Fasting creates a space, for God to speak to us clearly, breaking through the noise of life and helping us gain perspective for the year ahead. For those of you that have fasted before, you will testify to what I'm talking about, because I've personally experienced it. That in my times of fasting and in my times of, giving God that undiluted time of prayer and fasting, that's the time that I have heard God the most. That's the time that I have such clarity. That's the time that I'm not so, overwhelmed with the noise of the world, be it, thinking about what I'm going to eat, for lunch or dinner, be it, just things that would distract my attention, my undivided attention, and I'm giving that time to God. So it's such a special time when we fast, because God has our full devotion. God has our full attention, and he can download so many things in our spirit, man, because he has our full attention. And so when we combine prayer and fasting, we're able to get clarity, we're able to get vision, we're able to gain a focus, we're able to get, direction from God, because we can hear him better, we can hear him clearly, in this place of prayer and fasting. So to you who has been wondering what the year has in store for you, to you who's thinking, and wondering where God is taking you this year, 2024, and what dreams you should pursue, I would encourage you to consider praying and fasting. I would encourage you to seriously consider that. It's not too late. I know a lot of people will tell you to pray and fast in the month of January, but we still have the month of February. We still have the month of March. You can still dedicate, a specific time within this first quarter of the year to seek God in prayer and fasting. And trust me and believe me, he will show you the way to go. He will direct your path. He will make it clear what it is that he desires for you in this year 2024. Now, we've talked about prayer, we've talked about fasting. I'm going to add a third element to what we're talking about today in giving God our first, and that third element is generosity. Generosity. Giving is an expression of gratitude. Giving is an expression of trust. Generosity can transform not only the lives of the people that we're giving to, but also our lives as the givers. Because giving is a tangible way of saying, God, I trust you with my resources. God, I trust you even as I am giving you my time, even as I'm giving you my talent and my treasure, or even as I'm giving this other person this blessing that also means something to me. I still trust you. I still trust that you will make good of what I'm giving to you and what I'm giving to others. It's an act of faith that brings such joy and fulfillment. And when we give God the first fruit of our year, be it through our time, be it through our talent, be it through our treasure, whatever treasure it is that you're giving to God, he is pleased with it. And not only is he pleased, but he also just unleashes such an amount of joy and fulfillment and purpose in us. I know that there's a lot of givers that are listening to me right now, and you can testify to that fact that the times that you have given, you have received such an overwhelming sense of fulfillment that cannot be explained. You get a sense of purpose, like you are doing something right. So that's the blessing in prioritizing generosity, even as you begin the year. And finally, last but not the least, you can give God the best of your first fruit of the year by serving with purpose. Serving others is a powerful way to live out our faith. When we serve with purpose, we become agents of God's love and grace. We impact lives in ways that might never be fully comprehended. We become the hands and the feet of Jesus in the earth. And sometimes serving is sacrificial. God may place a demand for you to serve when you don't feel like it. When you don't have it all together, when you don't have it all figured out, and yet he'll place a demand for you to show up, and he will present an opportunity for you to serve others, to give of your time, to give of your talent, to give of your gift, and to give of your resources through serving. And there's no better gift to give to God than to serve others with purpose and intentionality. So while you're thinking there's nothing left for you to give in the church circles, there's nothing left for you to give to your community, maybe it's time for you to pray for God to open your eyes, for you to realize the many opportunities that await for you to apply yourself in order for you to serve in this year, 2024. In Matthew chapter 25, from verse 34 to 40, scripture says Jesus, I'm going to read that again. Matthew 25, 30, 34 to 40 says, "Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom he prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I'm so sorry, I'm all over the place. It's the first episode. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. That is so profound, and that speaks so deeply into the power of serving, the power of going over and beyond our capacity, over and beyond our convenience, over and beyond our comfortable zone in order to be a blessing to those around us. And so I want to challenge us as we begin the year in letting us know that the best way to start off the year right is by not only praying, not only fasting, not only being generous, but also serving. Look out for these 4 elements as you begin the year. Look out to ensure that you are applying these 4 things in your life as you begin the year, because not only are you going to gain clarity, not only are you going to gain vision for the year, not only are you going to open the windows of heaven through prayer for the Lord to bless your year, but you're also going to gain a sense of purpose. You're also going to get alignment for the year. You're also going to put yourself in a path of purpose where you begin to live a life that God desires for you to live. And that's a selfless life. The life that God desires for you is beyond just your comfortable zone. It's beyond just what makes you feel good, but it's for you to look out for the needs around you. It's for you to be the hands and the feet of Jesus. As we wrap up this episode of Graceful, as we embark on this new year, let's commit to giving God our first through prayer, fasting, giving, and serving. Remember, a graceful life is a transformed life. Until next time, stay graceful.